We are tonight's entertainment.
You can't handle the truth.
The fire rises.
Pizza time.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So it begins.
You know how much I sacrifice?
You think that's air you're breathing?
Groovy.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We are sex people! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Craft Services.
Hey, Trent.
Hi, Parth. You're not looking well.
Well, that's mighty nice of you. That's right, folks.
Well, at least with good reason. It's not just because you look physically attractive, but it's like you're not healthy as usual.
That's right, folks. Parth Marathe is sick. I've been in bed pretty much literally all day, just recovering from a cold, which has decimated my body.
I think, Parth, you've got the flu, my friend. As someone who played this similar game and was like, it's probably just a cold. Go out to the coast, have a few laughs.
Go out to the club.
I tested positive for the flu, and your symptoms are exactly what mine were. So maybe take it easy. Because a cold has a level of casualness that you can just like go to the store with a cold, but people act like the flu is really serious. People are like, you're gonna kill if my grandma gets this, if I accidentally pass this to my grandma, she's gonna die, and then you're gonna have killed my grandma.
Well, it is sort of at the Marathe family household right now. My mom's parents are with us, and my mom was sick for a period of time, and I was able to evade that pretty well by keeping away, washing my hands anytime I like touch something near that she would have touched or something like that, because I was just like, I cannot be sick, because we had this Q&A to do and I have other plans to do. And then my little brother just goes all over her, like going into her space, touching all her stuff. And I'm fairly confident that he got sick. And then while he was viral and infected, but like wasn't really symptomatic, he got me sick.
Yeah, so he went viral online for being sick. Got it. Yeah.
Right.
It was nice of you to get sick and really start showing the signs about like 12 hours after our big event concluded. Did you feel secretly shitty yesterday?
Yeah. I wasn't like this though. But I think there's some element of, if I have work that I deem important, I will not allow my body to upend that.
Well, I know eating when you're sick is sort of a delicate dance. So dare I ask, what have you been eating?
Sure. Most recently, I had a Yo Crunch yogurt, vanilla yogurt with M&Ms, mini M&Ms, and my mom made me some Maggi, which is just like noodles. It's like soup noodles, I guess. And they were good. They were easy to go down on my stomach, which I felt like somewhat nauseous, but nothing too crazy. My mom was throwing up a bunch, but my mom's also got a little bit more of a delicate stomach than mine. And again, if I decide I'm not going to throw up, I will not throw up.
Yeah, and I'm not sick at all, and I almost threw up today. But what I just had is something we've had before together. Whenever Parth and I coulda, woulda, shoulda, we were supposed to go to Lincoln Square AMC today to see David Fincher's Seven re-release in IMAX on the screen where we saw Oppenheimer and Interstellar and Tenet, and had some of the finest screenings of my life. One of our favorite movies was playing, and friend of the show Jackson Clark and friend of the show Adam Volrich were there. So that was fun. But I also saw The Brutalist this morning, wink wink, and had to get a bite in between these two movies. And so I got a chicken over rice at the Cosba cart.
Classic.
Yeah, it's right by the Lincoln Square. Parth, Jackson, and I.
Very affordable food. Also a place nearby where I got pooped on my head by a bird.
Yep, not by a human, by a bird.
This time.
The important thing I wanted to share, if for anyone who's familiar with the theater we're talking about, I had sort of a magical experience there because it was freezing out, and we eat the food outside at one of those tables, but it was like bitter cold, and so I just took the food to the AMC, and I was like, maybe I'll eat it at my seat. I don't want to be that guy. People look at you judgingly when you eat the non-designated food. Oh, maybe I'll eat it standing in the lobby. And then I found there's a stairwell. Everyone takes the escalators, and there's like a sneaky stairwell. And I sat on the stairs, and over the course of 10 minutes, only one person walked by, and I thought, if I was a homeless guy, like, this is the center of the universe. Someone should set up camp here. And then I finished my meal, and I walked down the stairs, and there is a homeless guy camped out on the stairwell. So he's got the right idea, and so do I. So for anyone looking for a moment of peace at the AMC Lincoln Square, find the secret staircase.
Wow. That was pretty magical, but what's also magical is our episode, so why don't we cue the intro? Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about the movies. Each week we talk about a film and hope we have a crew member of that film to talk with us about their experience working on the picture.
This week, that did happen. We're back on track, but sort of times 4.
Yeah, we were invited to do a live Q&A for one of my friends, one of my previous coworkers, Vincent D'Alessandro's Bottom Feeders was playing at the Art House Production Theater in Jersey City. He asked us to moderate a Q&A between him, star Will Ehren, and Jack Mannion, DP, also one of our friends, and the composer Ian McLaughlin. And we got to do it in front of an audience. It was a very cool experience, a first-time experience.
Yes, very fun, very new, very live. So excuse us if anything crazy happens, but it's 100% live, man. Except for the parts we edited. I almost don't want to hold off anymore, you know?
Yeah, we've got a cool interview lined up here, so why don't we just cue the interview?
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. I'm Trent Algair from the Craft Services Podcast.
I'm Parth Marathe of the Craft Services Podcast as well.
So, Parth, we've done like 200 episodes, interviewed like 3 Oscar winners. We interview people who work on movies, so how fitting that we're here for our first ever live with an audience event. So we have some people here who worked on the movie.
Yeah, so thank you so much, everybody, for coming. I had the pleasure of working on writer-director Vincent D'Alessandro's second movie, so that's why I'm here, because I was lucky enough to be a part of that. So we've got some crew members that worked on the movie. First off, I want to welcome Vincent D'Alessandro, writer-director, editor, everything cool. Then I'd like to welcome Will Ehren, lead, Dimitri himself, now with a haircut.
I'll take these next 2. Next will be director of photography Jack Mannion. And last but not least, we have composer Ian McLaughlin, who composed some of the wonderful music you heard. Bunch of white guys up on stage for anyone who hasn't noticed. We'll work on that for the next event. Parth, you usually ask the first question, so...
So just Vincent, to start off, could you give some background on the genesis of this, how this all came to be, the reason we're here right now?
Sure. Will and I, and Jack was there too. We made a short called Dog Food back in 2020. And that was my senior thesis at Rutgers. I knew that I kind of wanted to keep on exploring that world post that short. So I started writing this right after we wrapped that. And it's kind of a spiritual extension to that.
How would you define, what's your definition of bottom feeders? And as someone who's seen Dog Food, can you talk about what is the subject matter between both of that and this that specifically interests you?
Mm-hmm. The definition of bottom feeders, it's funny because I think the more you watch it, it's more Jess than Dimitri, I think, in terms of the bottom feeder. Because I find her to be one of those opportunists that lives in a world of guilt from privilege and therefore infiltrates other worlds that she feels she can make better. And inevitably that's not what happens. So I think it is her, and it's the intruder to this world, to this world that Dimitri and his father are living in. And to your second question, which was?
What is it particularly about the subject matter of maybe people in difficult socioeconomic situations that you seem to return to? And it's an interesting, the characters have sort of a small worldview just due to their unfortunate circumstances. Yeah, what attracted you to that?
Yeah, I think it's a lack of that and lack of seeing that. I think it's a relatively large part of the American population of people that are below the poverty line, and in terms of what drew me to that, I don't know. I think it is just Will, I think you should take this one.
I don't know. The more I watch it, I think it's pretty selfless of Vincent to focus on the underbelly, the silent majority, really, which you touched on. But these are not people that we see represented in Hollywood almost at all. And if so, it's not really, I think, done with the empathy that Vincent goes into these communities with. And, we form relationships with the people that we shoot with. And I don't know, I think you care about the people that represent these communities.
Yeah, I mean, talking about real people, having worked on your second movie, I know that you work with sometimes non-actors, sometimes extras that don't know they're going to be in the movie until they're in it. And can you, I assume with some of this stuff that played a part here, could you talk about working with extras and non-actors and what you as the director like to get out of that situation, and Will maybe acting and the sort of having to stay in character and what that brings you? Right.
I think this was a really cooperative group of people that were really excited that we were doing this. And we went to every location before we shot there a few times to get to know usually the owners, and then a lot of the times like the bar. I mean, you have your regulars, they were there pretty much every day, depending on their shift. They would always go after their shift. There was, I think, an oil rig nearby. It's interesting too because the actor that played the father was cast the day before we started shooting because the original actor dropped out. So while we were actually looking at the town, we started kind of like getting names of people that we were meeting at the bar, and it's like, okay, he could do it. He could do it. He could do it. And we got close to one of them, but he was a truck driver, so he couldn't do it. But then we luckily got Johnny Nichols to play the role. But I think, just being incredibly open to the area and just absorbing it and letting it, absorb you as much as you can.
Yeah, I think for me at least, as an actor, I love working with Vincent because there's sort of this camouflage process that I feel like I get to do, where it's more intuitive, just based on experiencing the world that you're in, and filling up with that, and then being present and going from there, rather than what you do on stage, which is a lot of rehearsal and process and homework and stuff that isn't as interesting as just like being in the world and living in the moment.
So just talking about where you shot, the setting, you can feel, they talk about it, and you can, through the recurring locations, feel the small townness of it. And you go over the bridge a few times, and by the end, you're like, this town is really just a few roads. So I was wondering what you were trying to accomplish through a defined location, and also how the snow and being cold and being able to see people's breath, how that played into how much of a necessity that was for you in the production.
Yeah, I think that was a non-negotiable, and we knew it was going to be, we started, Jack reminded me, it's actually like 3 years to the day. I think January 3rd, 2022 was the first day that we started shooting, which is wild. And, we knew what we were getting into going to Northeast Pennsylvania on January 3rd. It was going to be really cold. And I think we prepared for it for the most part, I think. I mean, at least the crew did. We were warm. The actors weren't. But I think that was just, it was built into the script from the beginning. It was a winter tale. It was always going to be a winter tale. And your other question was about location. I think the claustrophobia of it, and it's wide, and there's a lot of wide open spaces, but it is, like you're saying, there's the bridge, there's the bar, and a few other places, and that's about it. And this is what he does every day. He bounces around between these places, and I think to just establish location in that way was, I think kind of fun. And yeah.
I'm not just saying this because Jack Mannion is a good friend of mine, but I think this movie has a really striking look that seems like it's a continuation of what you guys accomplished on Dog Food, really like close up, handheld, shallow depth of field. Can you talk about, both Vincent and Jack, maybe about creating that look, where that sort of came from, and what that brought you?
Sure. Jack's great. And I think we kind of created a shorthand on the first one, on the short, and then we kind of just went into this one. And but we did know, I think that was going to be an extension in a way, maybe not explicitly, but we definitely found ourselves when we were shot listing and trying to pack as much as we can into like single shots and single takes. We knew that was going to be a continuation, and also Jack's really good at just abandoning everything that we planned and just figuring it out, and that's exciting. Now I'm gonna. Oh, he has one.
No, there we go. Yeah, I think that's true that we really found a shorthand on Dog Food. I know we'd shot listed on that a lot more extensively than we had on this. And then part of shooting that, we ended up condensing entire scenes into single takes. And so I think we kind of continued that visual language onto this in a really cool way. Because I think something you're good at is also abandoning the plan and pulling in, random people and giving them something to do. And then just letting, with the camera, I was following them. And I think there was this, a shot in the edit that's 3 seconds long that was pulled from a random 20-minute long pool game that Will just, picked up with a random
John
bartender.
Dancy, and he won.
Yep. So I think we rolled on that for 20 minutes, which was fun. But yeah, I think there's a freedom to it, which Will was talking about too. Yeah.
A lot of storage.
Composer Ian McLaughlin, I'd like to enter you into the fold. And Vincent, I'm curious, your role in this as well, but what were, in your conversations about what the score was going to be, what did you guys decide, like, the role and intention of the score was?
So I know Vincent, when he was describing it to me, was definitely going for something a little low key, but also I know he used the term lullaby, and you talked about that small town feeling. So I wanted something that wasn't intrusive, but also you could feel kind of like a tension and something building underneath. And especially in that last piece, before the last 3 characters enter the room, I really wanted to have it build and build and build and kind of keep adding to it, so that you got that feeling underneath it.
Yeah, and just talking about the physical conditions of working in Pennsylvania, right? It's got to be cold. Will, maybe this is good for you because Vincent said you were really cold. Can you just talk about what the environment brought you?
It was a gift when I decided to embrace it as one. You know, it was Dimitri is suffering pretty hard all throughout the film, and so to do him justice, I took the cold as a gift, and yeah, it was gnarly, but I'm glad that, I don't know, it was it taught me grit and strength. I don't think I'd ever been through anything that taxing on my body and been like, oh, that was fine. I made it. I'm still alive and happy.
He was in a lot of pain, just like Johnny too. I mean, everybody really. That wasn't bundled up or wearing gloves or anything like that. I mean, it was a lot of like physical pain in the hands. Just like there was a point I don't think you could like close your hands, and it was like they were just kind of stuck like that.
The pool game being cut down so severely is an interesting example, and we were just wondering about throughout the movie, what other examples of sort of extenuating circumstances wildly changing your plan, maybe for the better, maybe blessing in disguise in there, or if not, maybe in the edit, like the biggest change you witnessed.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of. We shot a lot. We shot for 14 days, I think it was, and we shot just an absurd amount of footage, and so a lot of it ended up being cut, and a lot of really good stuff, and but it just didn't work, and you know, I do think there is quite a bit that wasn't scripted that ended up in the film, and I chose that over what, you know, the original intention was of a scene, and I think it's I think partially I think I get bored, especially when you like have a script that you wrote like a year before, and I know that's like nothing compared to most of the time people are sending scripts for years and years and years, but I think there's a part of me that kind of just like, okay, I know I've played this in my head 20 million times, how I want this to happen. Okay, we shoot it, happen exactly as I thought it was going to happen in my head, or it didn't happen, whichever way. And I think I just have that urge to change it because it doesn't feel fresh anymore, even though we didn't shoot it yet, just because I've been sitting with it for such a long time. It doesn't feel fresh. And that's something that I think is, we did a lot here.
Talking about Johnny Nichols, the father, sort of a looming presence. He's not got, if you actually count him, like that many scenes. Was there more that you took out? And how did you sort of craft that character in the edit?
Yeah, he originally, so the original, so we had to adapt because we cast Johnny the day before we started shooting, and the original actor was a bit more of a menacing figure. He was a large person, and his audition and kind of how it was written is just a lot angrier. This guy's angry, but he's kind of like a buffoon. I mean, he's something sweet about him. There was nothing sweet about really the character in the original script. I mean, and to a fault probably, whereas I think this works much better, that he has that layer of just kind of being incredibly lost. It's a man-child. And so, yeah, we had to adapt to that. And I think we shot some of the stuff where he was a lot more physically abusive. And, we have the footwear thing, but that's kind of playful, and then it turns into something else. But we definitely there was a big like fight scene where they're fighting over money in the snow. That was pretty intense, and that got cut. It was intense just because they were fighting in the snow, like 6 degrees. So all of that for nothing. But yeah, so that definitely was something that changed. And then once I kind of tapped into that in the edit, and you just start watching it, it's kind of like, okay, it's like Johnny was great, he was awesome, but I'm really interested in this sweeter side. And that's, I think, what we ended up leaning into. Yeah.
What does Dimitri care about other than fucking?
I mean, I think the warmth, safety, and I think the fucking is, his misaligned conduit to that safety.
Maybe we can go down the line, and whoever can chime in would be great. But I was wondering, in the pre-production, looking at the script, whether you're a director or actor or the DP or the composer, what was the scene that you really wanted to nail, and you were maybe nervous leading up to it to try to really kill it on that day?
The Ménage à Trois and the final scene in the garage when we just keep kind of passing the camera. Yeah.
All of it? I don't know. I would read the script every night since I had it, just to like download it, so I didn't have to like do any work. So it was just like a subconscious thing. But looking back, probably the scene where I'm at the welfare office. I think that was the most important thing to me, subconsciously or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. It was 3 years ago now. But probably that sort of climax in the like empty building, because I know from my perspective, I was very concerned about light. We were shooting in a dark room at night with no power. And I think my kit at the time only consisted of like 2 like 100-watt lights, which didn't do much.
How far you've come.
But yeah, we figured out the flashlight situation and incorporated that into the choreography of the scene, which I think makes it dynamic in a really cool way. And I people come in and out of the light, so I'm happy with how it turned out.
I know for myself, that actually the first piece where they're walking across the bridge probably took me the longest, just because I was trying to find the sound that I was looking for. And once that kind of fell into place and I got that piece together, the rest of it became much easier because I found that tone that I was looking for.
Awesome. So I think we're running out of time. So we're going to go backwards now, I guess, because we have a big kahuna final question that we ask every guest, which is, what's the last great movie you watched? And it can be a rewatch. It can be a first-time watch. It has to be great, not just good. So Ian, we can start with you.
Well, I did recently just watch Total Recall, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Arnold Schwarzenegger on Mars. Can't go wrong. I think it's an all-time great.
I just saw the new Nosferatu twice. That was good.
I watched 2 movies last night that were really great. One, Swingers, classic, Vince Vaughn. Jon Favreau, yeah. And then I watched this HBO documentary on the Alabama sororities. That was really interesting. I recommend that.
I don't watch movies anymore. Last good movie, I think. Okay, so I've been watching the Peanuts, the Peanuts collection on Apple TV Plus because we got my mom an iPad for Christmas, so we got 3 years. Oh my God, that'd be amazing. 3 months free. 3 years would be amazing. So we got 3 months free. So I wanted to go through all the Peanut stuff. And the one that was my favorite so far was She's a Good Skate, Charlie Brown, with Peppermint Patty in the lead role. And she kills it. And she is a good skate. But Snoopy screws up her music.
As someone who has a Peanuts tattoo on their leg and who was named after Double Down Trent in Swingers, my mom is here. She can confirm this. I feel very seen right now. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone, for coming out and for watching the movie. Thank you, Vincent D'Alessandro, writer-director. Will, lead actor, Ian McLaughlin, composer, and Jack Mannion, director of photography.
And thank you to Parth and Trent for killing it.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. It made me nervous, like doing our early interviews made me nervous just because it was something new. But I thought all things considered it went pretty all right.
Yeah, thanks so much to Vincent. Thanks to star Will Ehren, DP Jack Mannion, and composer Ian McLaughlin for talking with us. I think they were pretty great people to do this for the first time with. And Vincent D'Alessandro directed a movie that was the first project that I ever really worked on, first feature that I ever worked on after graduating film school. So I'm very grateful to him for that, but I'm also grateful that these episodes show up pretty much wherever you get your podcasts, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, truly wherever you get them. We put posts on Instagram and Twitter, and you can keep track of our releases there. And next week, we've got a pretty cool guest.
Yeah, we do. Here, I happen to be holding a $50, which is not the right coin. But for anyone at home, think of the different coins and then think of movies that are out right now with one of them having a coin in the name, and that's the movie we're covering.
So we've got editor Nicholas Munzer talking about his work on Nickel Boys. That'll be our episode out next week.
Oh, Parth, I thought we were doing Quarter Bros. We're
okay.
We're not doing Quarter Bros?
See you next week, guys. Bye.